Okay. Hi, Scott from the store. My buddy Kendall here. What do you do, Kendall?
Hi, I'm Kendall.
Hey.
I am a barista in the city of Philadelphia, and yeah, hang out, make comics with my wife. You've probably seen me around the store once or twice.
Maybe once or twice, yeah. So we're huge Ninja Turtle fans. Have been ever since we were kids. We went to high school together, so we've been talking like Ninja Turtles almost nonstop for 20 years, which is both awesome and sad at the same time.
Yeah, wow, 20 years.
Yeah.
That's
Try
pretty
not try not to think about it too much, but
rad.
so we got here is the original Ninja Turtles movie from 1990. We've got it queued up, so it's right after the New Line Cinema logo, but before New York City fades in. So if you want to watch along with us, but we'll not just talk about the movie. We'll also talk about just the franchise and a bunch of our experiences with it, and maybe some trivia along the way. With that said, you ready to get started?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, on one we'll hit play. So 3, 2, 1.
There it is.
Oh man, you can definitely tell it was before the 2000s, really.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
look at
So
that.
this, so back in the day, how they would have to like report just like crime statistics all over the newspaper. It was like, oh god, the city's unbearable. It's good for
Yeah,
it's good for exposition, but not super realistic.
yeah. Well, you know, apparently New York City back in the 80s was you know,
Oh yeah, it was a rough spot. I know Giuliani, I know, is credited with cleaning up a lot of stuff. Like Times Square, we think of as a tourist trap now, but it used to be like really scuzzy and nasty.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
I
so
mean,
obviously, yeah.
it's still got its scuzzy and nasty parts, but
Well,
you
especially
know,
right now, everything being the way it is.
that's true. That's true.
But yeah, so this movie came out in 1990. Turtles, the first comic came out in 1984. So pretty crazy turnaround from just some dudes screwing around in their apartment making Ninja Turtles to having like a major Hollywood motion picture.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I'm wrong, viewer slash listener, but I'm pretty sure this was like the biggest indie comics movie.
I think it was the biggest indie movie for a long time. I think it recently got overtaken by something. I couldn't tell you what it was, but I know this. Like New Line Cinema was like distributed it. I don't think they made it. I forget what company ended up making this movie, but I know it was like the highest grossing like indie movie for a long time.
Yeah, well, this is kind of at the height of Turtle Mania.
Yeah, as I remember the cartoon. Because all right, so when I was a kid, I knew it from the cartoon rather than the comics, and the movie pulls way more from the comics than it does the cartoon, which is why it's a little bit like more mature and like grungy, like they swear, um, which is exciting. But I remember the hype leading up to this movie. I didn't see it in theaters, but I had it on VHS, and like I burned out my copy of the tape. I actually think I had all three of them because I remember watching Turtles 2 and 3 a lot. But I remember watching Turtles, I think I saw 2 in theaters, but I distinctly remember watching 3 in theaters.
Yeah, I definitely saw 2 and 3 in theaters myself. But I don't think I saw this in theaters.
Yeah, I don't think I did either because this was, summer 1990. I was like 4,
Yeah,
going on 5. So, we're a little young for this movie, but I did have it on tape. I do remember going to theaters and seeing the poster for it, where they're like kind of peeking out of the sewer cover. And I remember being like so stoked because for a long time, like this, like was as real as it was ever going to get.
yeah, and as far as interpretations of the turtles, nowadays it's just CGI with like 9 foot tall turtles. This is
Yeah, it's just a little bit more comic accurate and a little more show accurate because they have the show personalities and the different colored bandanas. Because in the comic, even though it was black and white, they all wore red, and they were all like, they weren't like, Mikey wasn't nearly as goofy, and they didn't like crank up Don being like a tech genius. That's something from the cartoons.
Yeah.
Which I'm cool with. Like, I like that they have more individualized personalities.
Yeah, it definitely took a while for the comic series to give the Turtles more personality besides just fighting and being ninjas.
But speaking of the comics in this movie specifically, well, because April was a reporter in this. In the comics, she was like a scientist, like she was Baxter Stockman's like a lab assistant, and just like a college kid, she wasn't a reporter. But she became friends with the Turtles, in issue 2. I know is her first appearance. But what's interesting about this movie is it adapts a bunch of the original comics. It's not just like a story. Obviously, they got issue 1 where the Turtles' origin and them fighting Shredder on the rooftop. They've got the Raphael micro series and the Leonardo micro series with Casey Jones, and then the fight in the second time around.
I guess the Leonardo micro series is, they gave that spot to Raph.
Raph, yeah.
Yeah, it was because the Leonardo micro series is just one turtle against the Foot Clan, and that leads directly into, I believe, issue 10 of the original series, and that's where you get the fight at the second time around antique shop.
And then that's when they have to escape and go to I think it was April's farmhouse in the comic. April's parent, like family one. I think it's Casey's in the movie, right?
The opposite. It's April's in the film.
And Casey's in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then, that led to them, like, recovering there, and then it was a return to New York where they kind of come back and, like, storm the Foot headquarters. But the original comic, they kill Shredder in the first issue because it was made as a goof. And they're like, oh, this is a jokey, goofy thing they just did for fun. They only printed, like, I think 100 issues of it because they didn't think anyone was going to catch on. And then it blew up and became this thing we're still talking about today, 30 years later.
Yeah. Speaking of the original issue, we're about to get our first little tie-in to that issue with a Splinter quote coming up.
Oh yeah, which quote's that?
Where he talks about you must strike hard and fade away.
Yeah. God, I love the first issue so much. It's one of my favorite just single issue comics ever. It gives you everything you need. It tells a complete, satisfying story all in one issue, which is rare for comics. Even more so today, where one and done issues aren't aren't done anymore.
Yeah, and if you take that issue on its own, it could be a Daredevil spinoff.
They literally have the same origin.
Yep.
Which is why it's surprising they haven't crossed over yet in any form of media.
Oh, I would love it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm stoked for all the Batman stuff that they've done recently.
Oh, yeah. The Turtles have had a lot of great crossovers throughout the years. I feel like most recently those Batman Ninja Turtle crossovers, which I think they've had like 4 different miniseries and then the movie.
Yeah, they had 3 ones with the same continuity with the IDW and DC published. And then they had the one where it was the Nickelodeon show, not The Rise, but the one before it was 2K12. And Batman the Animated Series was like their 4th one that they did, which is pretty cool. And then
that one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then they did the animated movie, which is an adaptation of the first crossover that they did with Freddie Williams and James Tynion.
Yeah.
Which those are really good if you haven't had a chance to read them yet. But they did recent crossovers with the Ghostbusters comic, which those were my 2 big things growing up as a kid. And Ghostbusters is still my favorite movie. This one's up there for me too. obviously, but
Yeah,
I think as a movie, Ghostbusters works better. This is a good movie too, but I think it helps if you're a big Turtles guy to begin
yeah.
with.
I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine, enjoying the movie that much if this was your only.
Like exposure.
Yeah, I mean it's a fun movie, but
I'll be honest with you, I think I would still like it now, but yeah, I would put this in like my top 10 movies somewhere in there, but it wouldn't be that high if I watched it in a vacuum now.
yeah,
I will say, you know what movie I like more, like that's grown on me more as after growing up is Turtles 2. I
yeah,
know it's not as good as this. It's a lot sillier and campier, but I kind of like it for that.
yeah. I've always loved Turtles too.
I think I liked that better as a kid, and then I got older and I liked this one a lot more for, the more mature, darker stuff. As I remember when I was a kid, and they curse in this movie, and it like blew my mind. But still has like goofy stuff. Like there's that fast forward part when like Michelangelo hears pizza and just pops out of the sewer. So
Speaking of Michelangelo and pizza,
that's one of my favorite quotes.
well, this Domino's delivery driver is actually the voice actor, or maybe the suit actor for Michelangelo. I forget which one.
No, really.
Yeah, I know a couple of the. I can't remember if it's the voice or suit actors. I think it's the voice actor.
Yeah, I would
But a
guess it's
couple
more
of
the
them.
voice actor.
Yeah,
Because it sounds you can sort of hear it, but I don't know who any of the voice actors are other than Corey Feldman as Donatello.
yeah. I don't know that he's in it. The only ones I know for sure are the Domino's pizza guy and then Raphael's. I'll point him out when it comes up.
Cool. I actually did not know that, so that's pretty rad.
Yeah, yeah.
Critters is another New Line Cinema movie there.
Ah,
I think I had a poster of this scene and of Leonardo like meditating at the farm. I just remember like just a picture of Raph just in a trench coat.
I think I know the. I think I know the image you're talking about.
Yeah, like it was a publicity still, not one from the movie.
Yeah.
But now we're about to meet Casey Jones, which is the adaptation of this issue right here, one of the earliest Volume 1 Turtles books I have, his micro series. His first appearance of Casey Jones. It's essentially just this scene right here, just for a full comic.
Yeah.
Which is another good like one and done issue. And if you just read that issue, you would feel like, oh, Casey Jones will never pop back up. And then, yeah, obviously he becomes a recurring character throughout the franchise. Have they introduced him into Rise of the TMNT yet?
Not as far as I've watched. He's a great character. I would say he gets the most character development out of like most of the Turtle protagonists.
Yeah, I would agree. I know throughout the Mirage comics, he like went from being this like punk, street tough, like he has a kid, then he eventually gets a kid and like kind of grows up a bit. I didn't watch a lot of the Nick stuff, which I guess we'll get into why like I kind of stopped paying attention to the shows. But like I know they redesigned him a bit. Like I think the mask was like face paint, right? Because I know you've watched that series a lot more than I have.
Yeah, he definitely had like skull face paint, but he did wear a hockey mask as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing the face paint and like, you know how the internet is, and they like freaked out that something was different. And
the internet.
We should go on record here. I love what the when franchises do something new. Like this is a fun adaptation of the Turtles media at the time. Like because it blends the cartoon and the comics, it becomes its own thing. And it's something a little bit different, gives it its different flavor. But like I think that shows how strong a franchise is that it can be so different. And the Turtles are such versatile characters.
Yeah. It really speaks to how versatile the Turtles are.
So like issue 1 is like this gritty, like street ninja thing. Then issue 2 and 3, they fight Mousers, and then 4 and 5, they go into space and fight Triceratons and stuff. Like, it's so bizarre to begin with.
Yeah, and then it eventually like loops back around to you know, more. Here we go.
It's the best part of the movie.
That's the guy who said, "What the heck was that?" Raphael's voice actor.
Oh, nice. I remember that was in the trailer. I remember watching the trailers before movies. They said I definitely didn't see this movie in theaters, but I remember the trailer.
Yeah, I remember the trailer as well. I think it was I had these video cassettes of like episodes from Burger King of the original cartoon, obviously. And yeah, at the end of those tapes, they had the trailer of this movie.
Yeah, I bet they're probably made to hype up the release of the movie. Do you remember the stage show?
The
coming
the
out of their
musical
shells?
one?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
As I had the cassette.
I had the VHS.
Yeah, I think I rented the VHS. I remember watching it once and it being so weird. Because it's like half behind the scenes documentary, like they're real people, and then half the show. But
Shredder
I definitely
hates music.
I definitely had the cassette and I played it all the time. But I had the cassette for this movie soundtrack too, because I think it started with like Tequila.
Oh wow.
And my dad would like hate that song, so like I was never allowed to play it. But I remember, I think it was the second. What was the second coming out? They did a second revival of the musical like touring show. I remember. I'm pretty sure I went to that because I remember going to it and being so bored, and we left.
Oh wow! I don't know about this.
Oh,
at all.
Getting Down in Your Town is what it was called.
Getting Down in Your Town.
It was really bad. Like the original show wasn't very good, but we were kids and it was fun. And like I said, Turtle Mania was at an all-time high. But I remember it was around the time this movie came out. Maybe it was to promote the second movie.
Gotcha.
Because I think the second movie was only like 2 years later it came out. Not pretty quick turnaround for back then.
Yeah. It was definitely like right there. I mean, they had to take advantage of this fad.
Yeah. So I remember Turtles 3 came out when that was kind of winding down.
Yeah.
At least I remember it winding down. Because I remember Next Mutation came out after that. And that was like, the Turtles were done for a while.
Yeah, that was the good effort, maybe, but kind of weird.
That show was bad. I think it had good ideas. It just was executed very poorly.
Oh yeah. So
and like Venus isn't the problem with that show. Even if she wasn't in it, it would have sucked just as bad. Because I remember because they just introduced a new female turtle in the comics, and I remember people coming in and be like, "Oh, whenever they do this, it's terrible." I'm like, that show was bad regardless. It has nothing to do with that. But I like Jenica in the comics, but I like that she was a character way before she was a turtle. She was after Splinter took over the Foot Clan in the IDW comics. She was like his apprentice. So she's a character we've gotten to know for a while. She just happened to get mutated recently.
Yeah, and I like that a lot better than like April becoming a turtle
or like even Venus's origin was like, oh, she was a secret fifth turtle we had.
Yeah.
And we just never mentioned.
Yeah.
Which is kind of lame, but I like the idea that like, so they're ninjas and she's like Shaolin, and it would be like a cool thing that you could play up like the different kinds of martial arts and philosophy and stuff, but that show just didn't do anything.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, they called her a shinobi.
Yeah, they kept calling her shinobi, even though she was like clearly from Chinatown, and like they could have played up like like a Chinese martial art or something. But shinobi's just female ninja, or just a ninja rather.
Yeah,
it's just another word for that, and it's just like, all right, they kept playing it up like it's something different.
Yeah, pretty silly.
Yeah, but that's
what not. What do you think about Chief Stearns?
Oh, he's the great lost character of the franchise.
God, they got to bring that guy back.
You know what? I wonder if there's a comic somewhere where there's just a cop and his name is Stearns.
Oh, maybe. I remember in the second volume of Tales of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, towards the end of that run, they were introducing like reporters and things like that, and it was like the Mirage version of some of
Real quick, I just love that headline. It just says it's worse. I feel like that applies for every.
Right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it applies every day in 2020.
Yeah.
Just everything's worse now because now we've got murder hornets on the way while we're all isolated from this pandemic.
Yeah,
But
an insane time.
But it's funny, like, yeah, there's because they introduced Tatsu as a character made for the movies, but like the only other thing he shows up in is the Hyperstone heist for Sega Genesis.
Wasn't he in IDW somewhere?
I think he got name dropped in IDW, but they're not really like using him.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like maybe the Secret History of Foot Clan miniseries.
I think you're right. But it's like somewhere it's just like a little like nod, like in the 2K3, the 4Kids Ninja Turtles. There's like a bunch of Utroms. They mentioned one's name is Krang, and that's the only like Krang related thing you get until Turtles Forever.
Yeah, that was a fun little nod.
Yeah, and that was like cool for the time.
Yeah. I remember 2K3 was like desperately trying to like get out of the shadow of the original cartoon.
Yes, I know it took a lot more from the comics, which was really cool at the time. But like they did some interesting twists. Like I remember they were building up to their first confrontation with Shredder, and then he and Leo at the like their climactic battle, they do that like samurai thing where they like jump across from each other and then land, and then one normally just falls over, but then Shredder's head falls off.
Yeah, that was pretty insane.
Yeah, like none of us saw that coming. Like, oh my god! But then, like the stinger for the show is his body stands up and picks it up, and we're like, what is happening? And we had to wait until another season to find out. But they kind of mixed him and Krang together in that show where he was Neutron. They like have bodysuits, and he was like in the gut for it.
Yeah, that show had many Shredders. I think by the time it ended, there was like 3 or 4 different iterations of that.
So there was the Utrom Shredder, there was the Demon Shredder, there was the original Foot Shredder from like feudal times, and then eventually in Turtles Forever they crossed over with the 80s show, and then there was the 80s Shredder.
Yeah, and then also there was like
Karai was also
Shredder.
There was Cyber Shredder, Karai was Shredder.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of Shredders in that show.
So many Shredders.
That was a fun show. I liked it at the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, even looking back, I mean, most of it is pretty great.
It went too long. It got pretty bad the last couple of seasons, but I would argue that overall it holds up much better than the original cartoon.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which, don't get me wrong, I will always have a soft spot in my heart. Especially the first 5 episodes, that first season is pretty great, but like a lot of it's pretty bad.
Yeah, a lot of it is fun though too.
Yeah, I mean you have to not take it seriously, obviously, because it doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest.
Yeah, I remember loving any episode with the turtle blimp.
Oh yeah,
it's just like, oh, this is a great episode. It has the turtle blimp. Then I remember getting that toy and popping the balloon. I was so bummed.
How long did it take you to pop the balloon?
Who knows? Time is a flat circle, Scott.
Just like a pizza pie.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh God.
We're about to get the origin of the turtles in the film.
Oh yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. I do love the puppetry in this movie.
I like that. It's like they're clearly like, well, Jim Henson's production studio did this. Of course, it's going to be good. Actually, is it TCRI in this one or is it TGRI?
In this one, I think it just says radioactive substance.
Yeah, I don't think it says it. Because I know in the second one, in the comics, it's TCRI. Yeah, it just says radioactive material. It's TCRI in the comics for Techno Cosmic Research Institute. but they changed it in the second movie to like get rid of the alien connection. So they made it TGRI for Techno Global Research.
Yeah, that second one. I wonder if they were going to put the Utroms in it, because I feel like at the end of the movie, it's like, oh, the professor mysteriously disappears without a trace, and it's just like, what is up with that?
I mean, I would have been down for it, but I guess it streamlines the thing a little bit where it's just mutants.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have mind. I wouldn't have minded a Turtles in Space for Turtles 3.
Oh yeah,
Although Turtles in Time is fun in its own way.
It's a fun concept. I think they could have done more with it. I mean, a lot of people hate that movie or really don't like the movie. I don't think it's that bad. It's definitely like the weakest of this trilogy.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do really love this one and Turtles 2.
Yeah.
I think I watched Turtles 2 on tape more. I definitely had all three in those clamshell cases. I remember them very distinctly.
Mine came in like the cardboard sleeves.
Oh, my first one might have been in a cardboard sleeve, but I remember the clamshell for the other two. And it's the second time around. This is April's job in the comics, she has both of her jobs from the comics and cartoon in this. So I know there's some spots coming up where you can in the turtles' mouths you can see the actors' faces underneath.
I refuse to look.
Yeah, once you notice them, it's impossible not to. Especially now that we're getting to HD and all these other things. It's blurry VHS tapes that you've been wearing out. You don't see that kind of stuff at all.
All right, we get Michelangelo's impressions routine.
I mean, he's working on his tight 5 for stand-up.
Maybe he can hit the circuit soon.
Yeah, so
are they drinking? What is that? Maybe
it's it's Pepsi and stuff, and cran apple. These movies that I've watched a million times, my whole life, like this and Back to the Future, and I start paying attention way more to product placement. Obviously you got Domino's in this, but they sell Pepsi products. I'm seeing Pepsi on the table, but the Ocean Spray was something weird. But yeah, I think that is an alcoholic beer bottle. I guess just April's drinking. They're underage now.
Yeah, I hope so. They're only teenagers.
Yeah.
What's up with that dog painting?
It's just in the hallway. But it's not an apartment building. It's a apartment above a store.
Oh yeah, true.
I guess it might just be an antique thing. It just is there.
Oh no, what happened?
But yeah, so really in the comics, Splinter just kidnapped this early on right after they meet April, but it turns out it's the Utroms. Why did they take him? I don't remember exactly.
So I think they were healing him, but the Turtles didn't know that. So they went to infiltrate their
the TCRI building, which was their secret headquarters.
Yeah.
And then I know they got accidentally transported to the Triceraton homeworld, where they met the Fugitoid, which was a character that Eastman and Laird came up with before the Turtles and was supposed to be their premier character.
Speaking of which, we got the one and only Fugitoid comic. Takes place before the issue 5 or whenever he appears in the series.
Yeah, I want to say issue 4 or 5. It's been a minute since I read the original run, but I reread the first one a lot because again you can just read it in 15 minutes and you get a complete satisfying story.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so the original Mirage run, how many issues did it go for? 50-ish? It was very off and on, and it was all different people working on it, and it was really kind of no continuity.
Yeah, I want to say the original Eastman and Laird run, it was like just them until like issue 12, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't too long of just them by
Yeah.
themselves.
And then they started doing issues individually. Um, once the once the big turtle empire kind of,
Yeah, picked up. Because I
yeah,
know that they weren't prepared for it to be what it was.
yeah.
And I know I've read interviews and stuff where like they kind of didn't like becoming like, oh, we gotta manage this, all of like the toy designs and all this other stuff. They just wanted to make comics. I mean, I'm sure they're very happy that it took off and allowed them to do basically what they wanted to for the rest of their life. And off and on, they've been involved with the franchise for basically the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, up until recently, um, the two of them, and then later on, solely Peter Laird,
Yeah,
um, had on to the rights of the characters, which is, for as big as it was, that's like
yeah, it's huge.
extremely uncommon
Oh yeah,
here
you'd
in the
never hear of that
West.
today.
Yeah,
Like uh, like Deadpool was created in the '90s, and Marvel just owns him completely.
yeah, for sure.
It doesn't matter how much his movies make. Rob Liefeld, it's only going to see so much money.
Yeah,
He's like the most recent example of like a comic character that kind of blew up into the mainstream I can think of. Because most of the characters you think of now like are from like the '60s or from a long time ago. Like all the Avengers and all the big Marvel movies, they're all old characters.
yeah, like obviously it didn't get to this level, but Scott Pilgrim is I guess a indie comic major motion picture that the owner still owns the rights to, but
Yeah,
yeah, typically doesn't happen.
yeah, it's always rare. And I know the reason the Scott Pilgrim movie even happened is Edgar Wright found the comics as they were coming out, loved them, and then contacted Brian Lee O'Malley because I know they worked on the script for that and the comic at the same time, which is why the original ending is so different for the Scott Pilgrim movie versus the books. Um, but yeah, the only other I guess The Walking Dead is still owned by Robert Kirkman. That
Oh
became
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
for
big thing
sure.
because Image is all still creator-owned stuff. That's why they were created, because all of those creators in the '90s were making the most popular books in the world and weren't making any money at it.
Yeah. There's
But I
our
remember,
man Tatsu.
but in the wake of the success of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, there was the big indie comic boom of the '80s. There were so many, and there were so many like direct rip-offs. Was that an Archie comic I just saw?
Oh yeah, a box of Archie comics.
Yeah, because they were doing the comic adaptations for the cartoon
Cartoon.
universe at the time, which
Yeah.
like Sonic the Hedgehog's, their comics for that like spun off into its own like world.
Yeah. The Archie comics are something I really want to catch up on.
I've only read a couple of random issues throughout the course of my life. It was something I never really followed, but I remember going into comic book stores as a kid and seeing them, and like because it was became so its own thing, like the Mutanimals and like all these other things. I'm like, I don't know what's happening, so I just never picked them up.
Yeah, I had a few scattered issues. I had it was like a giant sized like issue where the Mutanimals first teamed up.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then I had like a Wingnut and Screw Loose introduction issue and just
Yeah,
random things with
I mean,
random
what's cool
mutants.
is they used a lot more of the toys as characters in that show, or not in that show, in that comic. Because the original reason that there's even an original like '80s cartoon, which is why the first season's 5 episodes, is they wanted to make a toy line for the comics, and that was Playmates' deals. Like, you have to make a cartoon to sell the toys. That's why if you look at the original toys, like the Turtles and Splinter, especially sculpts like look so different from the cartoons is they're based on the comic book adaptations of them. Like that's why they're so mean looking and like they don't have like they have just white eyes.
I wonder why they decided to not give Shredder a shirt in those comics.
Yes, he had a shirt in the comics, but he didn't have it in the toy.
Ah, that's what I meant. The toy line. Yeah.
The original Shredder toy is so weird.
Yeah.
Like, he's in this like horribly like unposable pose.
Yeah, his like spine is visible and like
he's all like
just like a real gross looking guy.
And then the only
put a shirt on.
I don't remember a lot of Shredder toys. I remember there was Super Shredder for the movie. I think they made like mutating lines, but I think they did one where like his mutation was like he put his mask on.
Oh yeah. I think you're right about that.
But like I don't remember. Was there a movie? I mean, there's a million more now. Now that like adult collectors are a thing. Like when they're just making toys for kids, I'm thinking there's a shockingly like small amount of like Shredder and even Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah, I feel like
I can name a couple of them.
Rocksteady maybe got a couple more variants, but
yeah, they definitely did. But it was a lot of different versions of the Turtles. There was a million of them. And then there was like a lot of just weird mutants that like that YouTube video, the last Turtles toy commercial or whatever it is. It's like you don't even know if they work with or against the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And because of that video, I can never remember what Baskerville's name is because I can only remember.
You mean Giraffe Skitball?
Giraffe Skitball, yeah. I can never remember what his actual name is. I just know him as Giraffe Skitball.
What a ridiculous concept. I feel like Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of like is like what if those characters appeared in a cartoon? Like how random their villains are.
Because I know in the 2K13 show there was a lot of like weird new mutants and stuff. But they didn't go that crazy. Have like a moose that's a Mountie.
No moose Mounties in the first Nickelodeon cartoon. They one thing I really liked that they did in that cartoon is in the last season they introduced I wish I could remember his name, but there was a action figure in the original toy line of a dragon character.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He's red.
Yeah, he's red. He never appears in the cartoon.
His name's like Fire something. I think he's in one of the Tmnt The Fighters games. I want to say the NES one.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong though, but his name's like Firebrand or something like that.
Well, that character ends up appearing in the last season, and he's voiced by Mark Hamill. And
what's cool about the last season of that show is it's like Tales of the TMNT, where it's like a bunch of different stories that are unconnected to each other. And there's a 2-part Usagi Yojimbo story.
Yeah.
Was that one written by Stan Sakai?
I know he did some art for it, but yeah, Usagi Yojimbo and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have a very long
nice
history of crossing over.
And the Usagi comics are very good in their own right. I read all of them. I have a big chunk of them, but I have more Turtles comics just because I was into them for longer. I got into Usagi's comics as an adult because when I was a kid, I remember him being in the toys, and he was in 2 episodes of the 80s show. But I just assumed he was another, animal person for them. I didn't realize he was his own comic series.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And I believe he predates the Turtles too.
Yeah, maybe.
But I know
that would make sense.
They were indie comic contemporaries, black and white. And Stan Sakai still makes those books today, right? Both writing and drawing them. But they've had obviously a couple of Turtles crossovers in the comics. That's the most recent IDW one, right?
The
one you just pulled up?
No, this is from when the book was at Fantagraphics.
Okay.
This might be the second or third time they meet. Peter Laird actually did the crossover story in this one. It's pretty
Okay.
cool. They originally crossed over in this issue of Turtle Soup, which is just like a random kind of anthology book that Mirage was putting out for a while.
So you still have the price tag on that. Where'd you get it from?
This is a price tag for a comic adaptation of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, okay. I had no idea that it had a comic adaptation, not to get too far off topic. Up here comes another cuss.
Oh, Ninja kicked the damn rabbit.
So I remember watching I think that's Fractured Fairy Tales from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh yeah? I never
remember,
thought of what the cartoon was from.
It looks like it, and that's the kind of thing that they would do on that show. But I can't confirm it, but I remember watching that at the time. Same time this movie was out. But yeah, right now they're kind of adapting the Leonardo micro series. But they switched it with Raph.
Yeah, the first two movies were really good about let's make Raph go off on his own and then get his butt kicked by a million ninjas.
Yeah. Well, he's hot-headed, and that's what people do. They just run away and deal with stuff on the... Oh, no, yeah, it's Aesop's Fable. It's Aesop and Son. That's who those two are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like I said, the older I get, the more... well, not necessarily the older I get, but the more I've seen these movies, I like to pay attention to that kind of stuff. Because then the actual art of movie making is more interesting. And I will say the effects and choreography and stuff for this movie are pretty good. Considering these are dudes in suits, they're moving around really well.
Yeah.
The head articulation is really good. The heads aren't super oversized for all the electronics and stuff that are in there. But body language, they do really well. This is a quality flick. And then the suits get kind of worse as the movies go on. They're pretty bad in Turtles 3.
Yeah.
They're real flimsy looking shells and stuff.
Was that not with the Jim Henson Company anymore?
I don't think it was, or if it was. I think it was definitely after he passed. Not that I think he had.
Turtles 2 is dedicated to Jim Henson.
Yeah, not that I think he was actually puppeteering these things. I think it was just his studio working on it. Because I believe he was, because Labyrinth had already come out. I'm trying to think what big projects he was working on then. Fraggle Rock.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I don't know, but he had other things I know he was more interested in working on. Because Jim Henson's Studios worked on a lot of different animatronics and puppets for a lot of projects that aren't Jim Henson projects,
Here comes one of the best
smashing
scenes.
through the windows and stuff. Yeah. Oh, I want to say this fellow Chucker thing was referenced recently. Oh, and I'm not going to remember what it was.
Yeah, probably an issue of the IDW comic.
Which the IDW comics, if you haven't read them, are very good.
Oh, no, it was the Ninja Turtles Power Rangers crossover,
yes,
right?
That's what it was, yes.
Yeah.
Which that's been a fun crossover. I think the last issue we're about to get back in, it got delayed because of the coronavirus, but it's coming out soon.
Yeah, I highly recommend that crossover if you are a fan
I recommend the
of
comic
franchise.
book version and not the Next Mutation version.
Ooh, yeah, Next Mutation version.
Well, although was it in Next Mutation? What was the Power Rangers that they crossed over with?
It was a Power Rangers in Space episode.
Okay. Because it wasn't a Next Mutation episode, but it was those characters.
Yeah.
And actors in suits and stuff.
Yeah, because Saban, who is behind the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers franchise, they're the ones who made the Next Mutation show.
Which in theory sounds like it should be awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, the best parts of Power Rangers are the parts taken from the Japanese source material, and when there's no source material, you get Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation.
Yeah. But as a kid, that sounds amazing, because obviously we were really into Power Rangers because you couldn't have been a kid at the time and not being into them.
Yeah.
Especially being into stuff like this, like, you know, it all kind of goes together. But, you know, like ninjas are a Japanese thing, like Sentai's a Japanese thing, you know, live action shows, you know, combat, like, should have been fun, but that show is bad. There's just no getting around it.
There sure isn't.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of the more recent Ninja Turtles movies?
I watched, well, obviously, if you count it, TMNT, we saw in theaters.
Oh, yeah, we saw that together.
Yeah, and then I saw the first Michael Bay movie. I had super low expectations for it. And the parts I thought I wasn't going to like, I ended up liking. And then the parts I didn't even think I would think about, like, I ended up really not liking. It was kind of a wash. But I didn't see the second one. I kind of wanted to just because, like, now that I kind of knew what it was getting into, and I was just like, whatever, it's going to be stupid. It's got Bebop and Rocksteady, whatever. I'll watch.
Yeah.
I just never got around to seeing it. It kind of came into theaters for like a week and then disappeared. So I guess it might have sucked. Did you see it?
I've seen parts of both of them. I don't think I've ever finished. I did not see them in the theaters.
I saw the first one in theaters.
Oh, wow. Without me, I'm very hurt, Scott.
Well, you're living in Philly, you know. Yeah, it was like a spur of the moment thing. It wasn't something like. If I missed it, I wouldn't have cared. But I think some other friends were like, "Hey, let's go see it. Whatever. We'll make a night of it and have a laugh." I was like, "All right, whatever." Like,
yeah.
The only other recent thing I saw with them, because I only watched like one episode of Rise of the TMNT. I did not care for it, but I don't really get upset because it's a show for little kids. Like, it's hard to get upset for that. I'm not the target audience.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not expecting...
I was expecting to be... It's the Teen Titans Go for the franchise, and I don't like Teen Titans Go. So, for similar reasons. So I was like, all right, that makes sense that it's just for me. That's the thing.
I would say it has a little bit more story than Teen Titans Go from what I've watched of that anyway.
I will say, I remember when it was announced and revealed and everyone was freaking out about the design changes and like Raphael being more the leader than Leo. And I was like, I don't care. I think the new designs look cool. I remember people were mad that they're using different weapons and that like April's black. And I'm like, who cares? Like, be something different. I've seen this already, you know? And if it's not for me, it's not for me. Whatever. I move on with my life.
That's the important thing to know. You can always just move on with your life.
And I get my Turtles fix out of the IDW stuff because, like, that's more what I want, and it's good.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone hasn't checked out the IDW Ninja Turtle comics, they're great. And that's also a weird kind of, you know, like the Turtles' origins in that are unlike any other Turtle origin, and it's maybe a controversial choice, but
which, to be fair, at the time, I don't know if you remember, but like I did not like it. But they've done interesting things with it since then, and I remember not liking it too much, just in general at the beginning. They started doing more and more interesting things with the series as it went on, and it's one of my favorite ongoing comics I pick up now.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun with the IDW.
And it does a lot of fun things. Like, it adapts a lot of different source material for Turtles and invents and brings its own stuff to the table as well. It's not just like the greatest hits of the past, 30 plus years.
Yeah, that's the fun part about both the IDW comic and the 2012 Nickelodeon cartoon. They build upon like the lore established in the franchise.
Yeah, I didn't watch the CG cartoon as it was coming out so when Turtles Forever happened, it was the crossover between like the 80s cartoon and the 2K3 ones. And after that, I was super happy, and like to me that felt like a cap on the series because it also tied in like the comics and all these other things. So it's like, you know what? whatever they do from here on out, if it's good, I'm there. If not, I'm not super worried about. Because I don't really watch TV as it's happening. So I didn't watch the Nick show, but I've seen a bunch of it with you mostly. And from what I've seen, I do like it.
Yeah.
Like I keep meaning to go see it, but like I don't know. I think it's on Hulu or something. I have to figure out where it's streaming. I just never got around to watching it.
Yeah, it streams on Hulu, and yeah, once it gets rolling, it's like one of the most fun adaptations of the Turtles.
And again, I like that every version of it is different, brings something new to the table, even if they're adapting from similar source material. Because I know they've pulled a lot of stuff from the original show into comics like multiple times.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's something like this. Not just this, but like Spider-Man adaptations. Like I like things to be different. Like the Spider-Verse movie is very different from any of its comic source material, and it's arguably the best superhero movie. It's easily the best Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I could go on and on about Into the Spider-Verse, but we'll save that for another.
Maybe we'll do more commentary type stuff if people are into this.
Yeah, because that movie's pretty amazing.
Yeah, spectacular even.
Oh God. What do you think of Danny Pennington?
As a point of view character for this movie, he's okay. Splinter kind of needs someone to talk to while he's kidnapped here. And like, he has his own little character arc. He doesn't bother me.
I just think he's a turd, but.
I mean, you're supposed to. He's a bad kid and stealing from April and all these things.
Yeah.
Man, remember when movies would like slow down and like have characters just kind of talk to each other? This stuff doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. Like this is and this is another part of Turtles history. It started from the Mirage comics to this, and then both the 2012 cartoon and the IDW comic series adapt this part of the lore.
2K3 does it as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think it's just like it's a great storytelling move. It's like here's this. It's always after an epic battle, and then it lets things kind of slow down.
Most of the Turtles right now, after I won't spoil it because it's still relatively new, but a few issues ago, issue 100 was kind of a big story that the comics have been leading up to for a long time. And most of the Turtles now are living here rather than in New York City.
Interesting. I'm a bit behind on the...
You haven't completely caught up yet. The most recent issue got delayed for us. By the time viewers are watching this, we'll have gotten it at the store and I'll have read it. But the Turtles are in a really interesting place right now, and it's something we haven't seen before.
Interesting.
Which again is exciting,
Yeah.
I like seeing new things, even when you're adapting old stuff. Like the IDW comics took the silly old neutrinos from Dimension X from the original show and like put them in like the military and these other things from their dimension.
Yeah, they're like more freedom fighters and not just...
They're not just goofy teenagers hot rodding. Yeah. Which I like in its own way, but...
Yeah, I do love that.
Hot rodding teenagers from Dimension X. Don't they come back in a later season?
Yeah, I think they pop up a few times throughout the original cartoon series.
And I think they only made toys of one or two of them. They didn't make the girl, I remember that.
I think they might have made the girl and skipped one of the
dudes.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong though.
I don't remember exactly.
Maybe we're not as big a turtle experts as we
there's just so many toys. There's like 30 billion of them.
They have an entire episode in the 2012 series about Donnie and Casey working on a an old car that they find,
Really?
which is a nice throwback to the scene that just ended.
Or they call themselves like laser lips and stuff, going down the alphabet.
Dang, do they do that? Maybe.
That would have been awesome.
I
I
hope
mean,
so.
that's kind of a silly scene. Like, these turtles were really big into like they're really known for catchphrases at the time. You know, obviously most notably Cowabunga.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like someone's response to that.
Oh, yeah.
Call him like gack breath and stuff. But regardless of that, I think it's kind of a fun goofball scene. Since they made, you know, Donnie and Mikey are like the less serious characters, and Leo and Raph here are the more serious ones.
Yeah, which the balance is great in most adaptations. I will say the TMNT movie that came out in like 2007 or whenever that was.
Yeah, that wasn't a great balance. That wasn't a great movie. I kind of wanted to like it more than I did.
I had a lot of fun seeing it in theaters, but yeah, it's not the best turtle movie.
Because like I
Not
love
the
the
worst.
Oh yeah, well, we're talking movies. There's not as much competition. I mean, I guess I did say I didn't see Out of the Shadows or whatever that second one's called. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen the first Michael Bay one since the theaters. I also haven't really seen TMNT since about the time it was in theaters. But I know I've seen that like at home after the fact.
Yeah, it's a lot more exciting just watching it at home.
Yeah.
You know, I also think the fact that it was like, oh, Turtles are in theaters after so many years.
Dude, it was like 15 years. When did Turtles 3 come out? Like 94?
Yeah, maybe 94, 95.
Yeah. Some heat around here.
Raph is awake.
Yeah, man. They just dumped him in a bathtub for some reason. I always thought that was weird. And there's water in there, like they're pouring it on him. Like, they're not frogs. They don't breathe water. Like,
yeah, that's kind of a strange thing that they did.
I mean, would a turtle appreciate a bed because of the shell? Like I don't think like a soft bed would do anything for them, like for their backs. I guess that's nicer than just throwing them on the floor.
Yeah, but I guess like earlier in the film, it shows them sleeping on the floor with like blankets and stuff.
Yeah. But this is one of my favorite parts of the movie, just like them being, you know, the Ninja Turtles just kind of hanging out. I don't know why I always like this part. But it's like, you know, the character growth. They hit their lowest spot and like they're trying to like rally and stuff. I don't know. I like character driven narratives. And this movie actually has some of that.
Yeah.
But I also never really understood like the Foots thing. They just steal TVs and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Shredder's motivations are pretty strange.
I mean, his motivations in the second movie are pretty great. They crushed him to death in this movie, so he wants to kill them.
Yeah.
And makes his own mutants that think they're, you know, his mom, and that's great.
Yeah, Toka and Razor.
I like Toka and Razor.
I like them too. You know, as a kid, I was really just like, why not Bebop and Rocksteady?
I know. As a kid, I wish they were Bebop and Rocksteady too. But I think that the designs they made for them are a little bit easier to do than like Warthog and Rhino in terms of like, because the one's a turtle and they already have 4, and the other's a wolf man. Well, he's a fox, right? Or is he a wolf?
They say a wolf.
Yeah, but he's like red, so I always assumed he was a fox.
Red, brown.
Yeah, I always thought he was red, but no, I'm pretty sure it's a wolf puppy that they show at the end. But what I remember, no, I definitely saw it in theaters. Is one of the scenes that stuck out the most to me in Turtles 2, and I guess this is probably the first time I've noticed like products from other series as being in this. But do you remember the part where the scientist is like making an anti-mutagen thing in their lair?
Oh,
and
the
he puts
Bart
Bart
Simpson
Simpson
glass?
glass.
Yeah.
I don't know why that always stuck out to me. But
Well, you were a big Simpsons guy.
Not so much at the time, but I remember with the Simpsons being a thing, Because I got The Simpsons probably a little bit later than that. I just remember because that was also a big deal at the time. But I just remember that's just something that stuck out to me. I don't think I remember seeing like merchandise for another franchise in a movie before.
Yeah, true.
Especially because he holds it like right up because it's a dramatic thing. He like holds it right up to the camera because it's
almost like it's telling you, watch The Simpsons.
Yeah, which is funny because I don't think that was Fox. I think there was another I think it was New Line Cinema again.
True. Maybe Konami was trying to push the crossover with the Simpsons beat-em-up game.
Okay, so since I work in a store that sells retro video games and stuff, people always ask, what's your favorite game for whatever system? And then for people asking for Super Nintendo, I always surprise them. I pull out my copy of Turtles in Time as my favorite Super Nintendo game. Because you know what? It's the game that I go back to the most. I always have fun with it. And like, I know you and I have played it many times. I think, what was the quickest time we were able to beat it on hard?
I feel like it was like 10 minutes and change.
Yeah, it was like 10 and change, maybe 11 minutes at the most. But like, and we have to do
Still
it on
fun.
Yeah, and you have to do it on hard because if you don't get the real ending, and that's all it is Splinter calls you like true ninja masters at the end.
Yeah. But I don't want to be anything but a true ninja.
If anyone wants a tip in that game, get really good at just throwing enemies at the screen because it kills them instantly.
Yeah, and I think, do you get more points for throwing the enemies at the screen?
Oh, I never pay attention to points.
Points are, the only reason to pay attention is after getting
lives,
so many, you get extra life, yeah.
But I think we can beat that game without getting a game over, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes, what's his Slash? Slash is the hardest boss in the game.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going solo. He's a lot easier if there's a second turtle.
But like I like this. All right, the only thing that sucks about the Super Nintendo version is it's not 4 players. But like the extra levels and stuff, like the fact Slash is exclusive to that, versus the arcade, like Bebop and Rocksteady are only in the Super Nintendo version.
Which is a very strange thing. Isn't like
because they're the pirate stage. In the arcade, it was Toka and Razar, but they added a Technodrome stage in the Super Nintendo one, and they moved their boss fight to that.
Yeah,
and Slash replaced like the Mudman or some generic monster in the prehistoric stage.
That's right. Isn't there a Turtles game that only has like Bebop or Rocksteady?
Yeah, the Genesis version, Hyperstone Heist, only has Rocksteady.
So weird.
But that one has like Tatsu, and like you fight them both twice.
So weird.
It's not a bad game. It's just a less good Turtles in Time.
Yeah, for sure. It's still a lot of fun.
And the only thing that makes it less good is it's got less stages, and they don't have the stages are less distinct because they're not different time periods.
Yeah, I can't remember any stages from that game.
Yeah, they're all just like sewers, New York, and I think Technodrome. Like they're all just like very standard Turtle stuff.
Yeah, and like, don't you go to Japan in that one and you gotta fight through Shredder's?
No, I don't think you do, because that's the one where he the story in it is the adaptation of that one where he like shrinks stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
I think because I think that's the Hyperstone, but like he steals like the Statue of Liberty and like the Empire State Building and all that kind of stuff. Which they steal the Statue of Liberty in regular Turtles in Time too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right there on the news.
Yeah, just Krang just shows up all giant and steals it for whatever reason. They can have time travel in that. Why are they stealing that? Like they don't even use time travel for their own like scheme. They just like Shredder just banishes them to a time vortex they'll never escape.
Yeah. Not a good plan, Shredder.
But it makes for a very fun game. I really like the game.
And then they just like manage to get back.
Yeah. Yeah, they just whatever. As soon as they beat a boss that's there, the time vortex jumps forward. So this has got a couple of scenes right here, a couple of jokes I did not get as a kid. I didn't get till later. I'm not paying attention. I don't know if they've said it yet. But Casey talks about, like, they talk about being claustrophobic. And he's like, I never even looked at another guy like that. And it's obviously like a homophobic reference. And get as a kid. And then there's old pizza in there. And they're like, well, it depends. You like your pizza with penicillin on it. As a kid, I don't forget what that is. But because it's got mold, that's where penicillin comes from.
Yeah. I think as a kid, like, you first hear penicillin as like an antibiotic.
Yeah, I know it from when I'm sick. It's like, here's
it's just like doesn't make sense.
Joke,
yeah, there's the claustrophobic.
Yeah. So the pizza one's gonna be in a minute. I just remember like rediscovering, because we start to become like 17. We started getting like nostalgic for things. I remember going back because that's when stuff started getting re-released on DVD. So like, oh, all of these things you liked as a kid are around again. I remember watching this again for the first time in like 10 years. And I remember like, oh, those are jokes I get now.
Yeah.
So, there's a couple of stuff. Like I remember in Aladdin, there's another like gay joke in that I didn't get as a kid.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, like after he uses his second wish to save him from drowning. And Genie's like, I've grown fond of you, kid. And then they start flying away. He's like, not that I want to pick out drapes together or something.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's pretty lame. Oh, yeah, here's the penicillin part.
How long has he been living down there?
I don't know, man. But, like, that's like a whole pizza he didn't eat.
Yeah. And, like, they have a refrigerator. I can see it.
Yeah. And they've got a stove that's clearly broken and wouldn't work. But I always thought it was cool that they have a payphone. I guess they, like, wired it up so they don't have to pay. I don't know. Their layers in the movie were cool. Like, the one in the second movie is even cooler, the expanded, like, train station.
Oh, yeah. I do love that.
Yeah.
That layer.
That's probably my favorite turtle layer.
Yeah.
Because I remember as a kid thinking cool, but like you had your own train cars, like your room. I don't know why I thought that was so cool, but I thought that was cool.
I mean, that's pretty cool as however old I am, 33-year-old man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you'll be 34. I'll be 35 this year. Oh, my God. Here we are still talking about children's property from 30 years ago.
Yep.
Anyway, so the Ninja Turtles.
The Turtles.
Yeah. They're still enjoyable. I think they're a great franchise. Anyone from any age can jump into them at any point and get something out of them.
Yeah, there's something for, all age groups. If you like a more, I don't want to say serious, but like...
Yeah, I hesitate to say serious. I guess mature, I don't even want to say that. But like this is a more like less kiddie version of them.
Yeah.
The comics are a little bit more geared towards like a teen audience.
Yeah, they're just like real wacky, and especially those like Mirage comics when they start letting different creators tell their own tales.
Oh man, it's like the Wild West of what kind of quality you're getting.
Yeah, well, it's just like completely...
Because some are like
different forms of storytelling.
Yeah, some are like super serious, and then ones are like literally cartoons. Like, what's the two-parter one where like Raph goes on like a space adventure?
Oh yeah, oh god, I wish I knew the creators.
Yeah, because it's clearly like a cartoonist.
Yeah, but then on the opposite side of the spectrum, there's that guy who does like super realistic interpretation.
Yeah, where they look like real turtles.
Yeah, and they
like with beaks and everything.
Yeah, and
which
that's
I always thought's kind of weird that like the turtles have like human teeth.
Oh yeah,
like, turtles don't have teeth, but I can't imagine them without it. Like, it's one of those things you have to anthropomorphize them so much to be relatable to people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess according to which interpretation of the ooze you use, they could take on a human characteristic.
Yeah, because this movie does the comic book version where they just get the ooze and turn into like people, but in the cartoon they were you get mixed with the DNA of like whatever creature you were last encountered with, in which case that was human. for the turtles, and for somehow with the human was Hamato Yoshi, but for some reason he turned into a rat.
Yeah. Well, you live in the sewer.
Yeah, whatever. I'm okay with this stuff. I'm being silly. And it's always weird that like a rat learned to be a ninja from a cage.
Yep.
But like as your kids, you don't think about it. But like this story, the story with Shen and stuff is interesting. It's good stuff. It gives them a connection to Shredder. That's all from the comics.
This whole tale is like a huge focus in the 2012 and even the 2003 cartoon series.
Yeah, the 2003 one went back to this where Splinter was his pet. But in the 2012 show, they went back to the original one where Splinter and Yoshi were the same character. And they do that with the IDW comic as well. But like they do it in a very different way.
Yeah.
Which if you haven't read it, I don't want to spoil it too much.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah. I know we keep the first couple volumes and the most recent couple volumes on hand at the store. So if anyone wants to check it out, shoplevelup.com.
Yeah, and I'm sure y'all can order whatever people need.
Yeah, I'd be happy to order whatever you want to get. But they did a lot of like side series in that as well. The most recent, they're doing the Jenica one right now. But the most recent one before that was Shredder in Hell. And then they did a couple of Bebop and Rocksteady ones, which are by far the silliest that book ever got. Because like the first one's Bebop and Rocksteady destroy everything and they destroy the multiverse.
Yeah, that was a very entertaining one.
I didn't like the second one nearly as much, although it had Wingnut in it, which was cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah,
I didn't get to read the second.
Yeah, Bebop and Rocksteady Hit the Road, I think is what it's called.
But
it wasn't nearly as fun as the first one. The first one's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe it was less inspired,
Yeah, I can see that.
But, no offense to those creators.
But the first one pulls a lot of stuff from the original TMNT comics. Like it starts off with this, because it brings Savanti Romero from that continuity into it, which is like a time-traveling like bad guy from the original comics. Which I think he's from either Tales of TMNT or Turtle Soup. He's from one of the anthology books, I think.
I think he might have first appeared in Tales. He definitely has a Tales issue.
Yeah, I think the Tales issue is one where he gets stuck in like prehistoric like dinosaur times, which is where I know the Bebop and Rocksteady book pick up. I want to say it's the last issue of that in the original run.
Oh yeah? Then maybe he did appear before that. Oh wait, no, he was in the Cerebus crossover.
Was he? Yeah, that's the one.
He was the villain and that's like issue 8 or something.
Well, I think the Cerebus one is the one where he gets trapped back there, but I thought they came back to him in the original series at some point, because I know Rennet comes back a couple of times.
Yeah.
Which is like the good time-traveling character.
Yeah, I think he gets trapped in prehistoric times in the Cerebus crossover, and then in Tales of TMNT, they fight him in dinosaur times.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking. It's been a while since I read the Mirage books.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
They're worth, if you're into Turtles, like most people haven't read them, they're worth picking up. IDW's been reprinting them. You know what's cool that IDW's been reprinting is the Volume 3, the stuff back when they were at Image. They've been reprinting that as Urban Legends, and that series never got finished, and now they're like kind of finishing it up, which is cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I have the first collection of that, and it's rough in times.
It's very weird. It's not afraid of like changing the status quo. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that first the first issue or two completely changes everything.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea, but I'm glad that it continues to have its own place. And I'm glad that it's reprinted, because like it should be available for anyone that wants to read it. Like I think it should be there.
Yeah, for sure. Because those single issues are very hard to track down.
Yeah, I don't think they were huge sellers. right?
Yeah, it was coming out around the time of Next Mutation after the turtle boom had kind of
Yeah, collapsed in on itself.
collapsed. Yeah.
Yeah, which is it seems interesting. It seems strange then that like it kind of this franchise kind of never really went away because a lot of stuff from that like we don't talk about He-Man really anymore. Like a lot of big things from that time, like usually were just fads, and then once the toy line and sales dried up, it stopped.
Yeah.
Like Thundercats just got rebooted, but like there's barely been any like who talks about Thundercats.
Yeah. Since like the 2011 like 10 episode reboot that they
Yeah,
did.
that nobody watched, but apparently like everyone watched that show to like to be like that.
Yeah. But yeah. Turtles was like from 1984 to like 1998 or 99,
Yeah,
just
maybe
like
even that long.
nonstop. And then
They
it
took
was,
a little bit of hiatus and came back with 2K3. They came out with a new cartoon on 4Kids.
yeah.
But I think there was there always comics, or were the comics on hiatus for a little bit? Because Volume 4 kicked off when we were in high school, right? So like early 2000s.
Yeah, I believe so. So maybe there was a couple years with like no comics, but that's also how the comics had been for the most part.
Yeah, they were very on and off for Volume 1 at Mirage. Like there'd maybe be like 2 random issues a year or something like that.
Yeah, because what is it? Yeah.
Because that's like where they weren't making their money on the comics. It was all the merchandising.
Yeah. Yeah. The first comic series had like less than, if you're talking like monthly comics, it's like less than 3 years worth of comics altogether, I believe. But it ran from 84 to whenever it stopped.
Yeah, we probably should have researched that before we started this, but here we are.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You can research yourself and
That's
maybe
your
you'll find something fun that you want to check out.
What was that Turtles website we used to go to in high school where it had like breakdowns of every issue and every toy? I wonder if that's still around. It was a really good database for this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember at all.
Because I remember that's when I was getting back into like comics in general. And I would we had a couple of comic book stores in the area, and we'd go hunting for back issues and stuff. And that was a good way to find out what issues were worth seeking out or not.
Yeah, true. Now I just get any I can find.
Well, now I can't even remember which, because I don't have a complete run of Volume 1, because some of that early stuff's really expensive. I do have a copy of Turtles #1, but it's like the 5th or 6th printing, like really late. Like it's worth like $10. I just wanted to get it so I could say I have it.
Yeah, is that the one where like Splinter has his hand?
Yeah, it's like green. It's really weird looking.
Yeah, I have that. I have that and like a free comic book day reprint of issue 1.
They've done a couple free comic book day. There's been many reprints of that.
Yeah.
Besides
the Fugitoid, my earliest issues are 3 and 4.
Yeah, and then 4 is the one that they used the second printing of that. They used the cover of that for the original NES game.
Yeah.
But I remember being confused as a kid because they're all wearing red because it's the comic and they all wear red in that.
Yeah. They actually went back to, let's see if I can find this. It might take a while. But they went back to that image in like a promotional still for the 2012 cartoon.
That's cool. I know at the store we've got a print of that's signed by Kevin Eastman. We keep meaning to frame and get on the wall.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
put that on the wall. That's awesome.
Sean and Greg got it at some auction that they went to at one of the retailer comic conventions. We have a ton of stuff we need to put up on the wall. Basically, every time we get someone new to the store, I get something from them. Like I've got DMC's comics and stuff I need to get up. He signed our promotional like poster for his appearance. I do have that up on the wall.
That's awesome.
But speaking of stuff signed, so I met Kevin Eastman a couple years ago. We at in Baltimore. All right, so Diamond's the comic distributor is like the nationwide comic distributor. Just that they're the only game in town, but they do retailer conferences, and they're headquartered in Baltimore. And so a couple years ago, they have a yearly thing, like essentially convention for retailers. And IDW brought, like, they have like every publisher has different booths. They'll bring different creators to talk to you about books, and then you would order them. But IDW brought Kevin Eastman. So he was just signing a bunch of Turtles books for free, and I didn't know he was going to be there. And when I was there was Sean, Greg, and Jess, and they're like, there was a huge line for him. And we were like, hey, listen, I'm going to go be in this line. You kind of get why. So I went and did that. But I have my copy of Turtles, the adaptation of this movie, signed by him. It says to Scott up top there. He usually draws a little turtle on there. Knowing him, it's probably
awesome.
Raph, because I know he's like, Raph is his most favorite character. Like, you can always tell when Kevin Eastman wrote a comic because it's about Raph.
So IDW put out these giant Ultimate Collection books.
Oh yeah, those are nice.
The one I have came with a sketch by Kevin Eastman.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Who was, I remember being surprised by that because I know Raph is his favorite, and this is Peter's favorite turtle, Donnie. Also, very stoked to see the two of them getting back together for the
Last Ronin.
Yeah.
That's not a Turtles thing. It's just its own thing, right?
No, it's a Turtles thing.
Oh, is it? Okay. I've only seen the one-page ad in Turtles 100 where it's just like Last Ronin. It's just white text on black. It says Eastman Laird, Last Ronin. And I'm like, I don't know anything about that. I don't really need to know. I'm just down.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's supposed to be maybe something to cap their original run, maybe.
That would be cool.
It'll ignore Volume 4.
I liked Volume 4. It just stopped though, which stinks. Because that was Peter Laird was running that then, but like you can tell he like kind of lost interest, and that's when he sold the property to Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I do wish he retained the rights to make some more comics, but I do wish he ended that.
Yeah, he's just never exercised those rights. But that's cool that they kept the rights to that, because like if they want to just play with that universe that they made, they can.
Yeah, for sure.
But I know Kevin Eastman's been like a consultant in the entire IDW run.
Yeah, and he's drawn a few like annuals.
And he does all the alternate covers. You know what's so? Did you read up to issue 100, right?
I did not.
All right, so I don't remember how many issues it was, but like the 10 issues or so leading up to it, they had like an oral history of the TMNT in the back of it, where they're kind of going over like oral history of the IDW TMNT, where they're talking with all the different creators and stuff about all the different storylines. I thought that was really cool, and like their ideas for all the different things that they were doing. It also served as a nice refresher on all the stuff that had been happening, because that was
a lot happens in that.
That was like the issue 100 was like a culmination of like every storyline they had going, just about.
Really?
But it did at the very end. It set up a couple of things that they're going to deal with now. But like the status quo is so different that like a lot of their ongoing stories kind of got tied up a bit. But yeah, if you haven't caught up, you should catch up. Not just you, but whoever happens to be watching or listening to this right now.
Here's Shredder taking off his mask.
It's the same rat, the one that he sliced his ear of. And Splinter messed his face up.
Yeah. I guess you would remember the rat that did that to you.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't remember him earlier.
Yeah, right? Well, I mean, who would have thought that rat would...
So anticlimactic. Just went right over the top. But I love it. I mean, it's way less dark than the original way they killed him in their first comic. But like, they beat him, and Leonardo gives him his sword so he can perform seppuku and like die with honor. And then he just grabs a grenade to try to kill them, and they knock him off, and he blows himself to bits.
Shredder was shredded.
Yeah. I don't know how he survives this and then dies in the second movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that a stronger version of Shredder would die.
Dies
the
from
way
like
he
a
died.
dumber thing, like a
Yeah.
less destructive way. Oh.
And if it didn't show his hand pop up at the end, you could say, well, maybe he was so bulky and stupid he could have drowned, but
Yeah. Whatever.
whatever. Yeah.
It would have been interesting if in the third movie, since they went to like feudal Japan, if there was like the ancient Foot Clan was there,
No, that would have been amazing.
and there was like some sort of ancestor to the Shredder. Because they say he's Roku Saki in this, they could have had someone another Saki clan member, or even Hamato
Or a
Yoshi,
Roku
or Yoshi,
clan member.
a Roku, yeah, or even Hamato Yoshi's like ancestor or something.
Well, in the third movie, there is a child named Yoshi, but it doesn't make sense that that would be Splinter.
Yeah. Also, when I was a kid, the only time I didn't really realize Hamato Yoshi was his name. I know they say it in the very beginning of the cartoon, but like you don't watch that.
Yeah, and they
but like I knew Yoshi from Mario. I was like, that's a weird name for a kid.
It's just Dan, Scott.
Yeah.
He's an adult.
He's matured. His character art's complete. I wonder if they ever made toys of these guys. No, they didn't make a lot of movie toys, which is a little surprising.
Yeah, I remember when Turtles 2 came out, they did like a movie line.
Yeah, the movie stars line, yeah.
Yeah, and it had like a fuzzy Splinter that came with it.
Yeah, he was flocked. The Turtles had like their spots and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember not liking those toys nearly as much. But yeah, there was a Super Shredder toy.
Yeah, I had the Super Shredder toy.
Yeah, I remember that. Super Shredders from Turtles 2, and also Turtles in Time.
Yeah, they had Toka and Razor.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, I think so.
But like, Batman 1989 had like everybody. Had Bob.
Bob the Goon, the best character in that movie.
Exactly. But like, that was a contemporary. You figured this is a franchise more built on toys than Batman was.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, I remember they did action figures for like April's boss in the cartoon, and they did Irma.
Yeah, they did all those characters for the cartoon. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need a Charles Pennington.
I feel like the way toy collectors are now, people would buy all of them.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't personally want, but like this version of Casey would have been neat.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Did
what's that company doing all the toys these days?
Oh, NECA.
Or NECA. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they did a Casey figure.
Did they do? I know they've been doing the movie Turtles. They looked really good.
Yeah.
Like they basically look exactly like this.
Yeah, they've been doing quite a few different versions of the Turtles.
I also like that they've been doing sets of like not the cartoons, the video game Turtles and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I want the 1-Up arcade so bad. That has So the 1-Up arcades, they're like half-scale arcades you can get for your home, and they just did a Konami Turtles one. So it's got Turtles in Time in the original arcade game.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's the most expensive one they did, though, because it's the only one that's 4 players.
Oh, really? How much is it?
Like $350. It's not the craziest amount of money, but like, yeah, I don't have that just lying around. Like that's not impulse buy money. At least not for me. If it was like $150, I might be like, ooh, maybe, but.
Yeah, but I mean, for what's essentially an arcade cabinet, it's not too bad.
Also, this song is Bop's. Oh, I should have grabbed it. I didn't. I have this on single now.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that like a record store day release or something?
Was it? I have the record store day version of it, but I do have the original version as well.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was looking for Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack at our local record store because we had DMC come to the store last November for a signing, and Ghostbusters 2 is like the song of his I have the most connection to. I was going through the soundtracks and I saw this, and I was like, oh, I gotta buy it. Because it wasn't a lot of money. I think it was like $10 or less, something like that.
Yeah, what's their name? Partners in Crime?
Yeah, or is it Partners in Rhyme? Or am I just making it up? I think it's Partners in Crime.
Yeah. Well, that was the movie.
Yeah, man, that was a big part of my childhood, and to a lesser extent, my adulthood.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's I have a good time whenever I watch.
No, it's always a good movie. Like I never not enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, do you think we're gonna see a new Ninja Turtle movie anytime soon?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think the Platinum Dunes, the Michael Bay produced ones. I know the second one definitely underperformed, which is why they didn't make like a third. But I mean, they're always gonna be around in comic or cartoon form. I don't know ratings for the Rise of the TMNT, but the last one did pretty well. How many seasons did that go?
That cartoon was 5 seasons.
Was it 5? I thought it was longer than that.
No, I think just five seasons.
I mean, that's still a good run.
Yeah, and it was good that it ended when it did. Both previous cartoons to that, their last 2 seasons were kind of a mess. They were like, oh, we got to freshen it up. So
yeah, the Red Sky seasons of the original show are pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then the last Fast Forward and Return to the Sewers are pretty bad of the 2K3 show.
Yeah, you definitely see a dip in quality in both of those. So I'm glad that the 2012 cartoon ended what it did. Yeah. And for as long as Rise of the TMNT is on, I'm stoked to see it. And I'm hoping we get more direct to video.
Yeah, because since it's a Nickelodeon thing, like I know they're signed some sort of deal with Netflix. Because people are thinking like, oh, they're going to produce like a gritty Daredevil-esque version of the Turtles, which would be cool just to have something different. But like, I would be cool with like a non-Rise of the TMNT, like something a little bit more made for, like a little bit more to my taste. But I
would be very into just seeing a series of movies that are all different takes on the franchise.
Oh, didn't they do something not too long ago where it was like web shorts where it was all different creators?
Yeah.
Some of those, like one where they're like mechs. There was one where it was like, was it Raph versus Donatello? They had like some like escalating competitions.
Yeah. There were a couple different.
Yeah, I remember some of them being pretty fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind like, that in an expanded form.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Because you can even call it like Turtle Soup or something. Because they're doing stuff like that with the Looney Tunes, where it's like all different creators doing different styles and stuff.
Oh, that's interesting.
But no, yeah, like a Turtles anthology show with all different creators would be pretty great.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. Oh, Aesop's Fables, Tortoise Beats Hare.
There you go.
The answer's there in the credits.
I think they used to play that during like Rocky and Bullwinkle. I remember being like next to like Mr. Peabody and Sherman and stuff. Hey, Konami Video, there you go.
Interesting. But yeah.
So yeah, that was Turtles 1990. One of the best. I would argue it's probably the best Turtles movie.
For sure. With Turtles Forever right behind it.
I would put Turtles 2 above that.
Yeah.
Secret of the Use. I really like Turtles 2.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's not a great movie, but I enjoy it a lot.
I mean, Turtles 2 has the advantage of just having to follow up this, whereas, Turtles Forever is the cap to that entire cartoon series.
And in certain ways to the original one as well.
Yeah, it's a bit harder to just watch that and with no context of anything else.
Yeah, I agree. But all right, guys, we'll sign off here. Enjoy the rest of the telethon. I'm sure you'll see plenty more of me. You might see a little bit more of Kendall, or maybe you already saw a little bit more of him. I'm not sure where this is going to go in the schedule yet. But
Time is a flat circle, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for watching Turtles 1990 with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you later, y'all.